So welcome back. Now we are solving some numericals on design of machine elements through one of the previous end semester exam paper. So we already solved first three questions in the previous presentation. So in this presentation we will solve two more present numericals. So here we will see the question number 7 and we'll solve the question number 8. So question number 8a is for 4 marks, in which you are asked to discuss the stresses in a wire rope, where you are expected to write the different stresses like tensile stress, bending stress acting on the wire rope. And then there is a next question 8b for 4 marks on chain drives, and 8c is for 8 marks on numerical on belt drive. So here we will read this statement first. A compressor running at 750 rpm is driven by an electric motor which is running at 1500 rpm, and the flat belt is used for this power transmission, which is having the cross section of 8 mm by 225 mm, and the center distance between the two pulleys is 1.5 meter. The coefficient of friction between the belt and the pulley is 0.35, while the density of the belt material is 900 kg per cubic meter, and the tensile stress for the belt material is 2 Newton per mm square. We are asked to find out the tensions in the belt, means tensions on the tight side and tension on the slack side of the belt, and the maximum power transmission capacity of this belt. So the data for this problem is like this. We have been given a motor pulley of which the RPM is 1500 and a compressor pulley of which the RPM is 750 RPM. Center distance is 1500 RPM and the density of the belt is 900 kg per meter cube, while the stress induced in this belt is maximum 2 Newton per mm square. So the cross sectional area of this belt, which is so here we are asked to find out the tensions in the belt. So we know that the belt tension ratio is given by T1 upon T2 e raised to mu into alpha, where mu is the coefficient of friction between the belt and the pulley, which is here 0.35, and alpha is the angle of wrap between the pulleys and the belt. So we can find out this relationship to get T1 and T2, but at the same time you will find that we have been given the stress and the cross sectional area, so with the help of which we can find out the maximum tension in the belt. So let us utilize this stress first. So this stress is maximum tension by cross section of the belt. So we can get this maximum tension in the belt, which is equal to the product of sigma into A. So 2 into 8 into 225 is equal to 3600 Newton is the maximum tension in the belt. Now for maximum power transmission, we know that there is one condition, that the centrifugal tension should be 1/3 of the maximum tension in the belt. So this is 3600 by 3, that is 1200 Newton is the TC, that is centrifugal tension, and the centrifugal tension is given by TC is equal to mv square, where m is the mass per unit length of belt and v is the velocity of the belt in meter per second. So from this relationship we can determine the velocity of the belt. So velocity of belt is equal to under root of Tc by m, that is equal to Tc is 1200 divided by m is nothing but the density of the belt multiplied by cross sectional area of the belt, so that it will be nothing but m in kilogram per meter. So you will get the velocity, which is equal to 27.21 meter per second. Now once we get the velocity, so by using this velocity we can find out the diameter of the pulleys on input side and the output side. So phi is equal to pi into d1 into n1 by 60,000. So from here we can get the value of d1, which is nothing but v into v is nothing but 27.21 multiplied by 60,000 divided by pi into n1, where is the n1 is the rpm of the input pulley. So you will get the d1, that is equal to 346.54, which can be rounded up to a 350 mm standard pulley diameter. Now to determine the diameter of the compressor pulley, we will consider that there is no slip of belt between input side to output side, and therefore whatever the velocity is there on the input side, the same will be maintained at the output side. So using the relationship d2 is equal to n1 into d1 by n2, we will get d2 as 700 mm. So we have got down both the pulley diameters. Now these pulleys are making contact with the belt, so the angle of wrap, means the contact of the belt and the pulley, is larger for the larger pulley and it is smaller for the smaller pulley. So while finding out the tension on the tight side and slack side, we should consider the minimum angle of contact, and that minimum angle of contact will be less for the smaller pulley, while it is more for the larger pulley. So this is 180 plus 2 side of these angles are there, and this is 180 minus this angle is there. So let us see now how we can calculate this angle of wrap for the smaller pulley. So alpha 1 is equal to 180 minus 2 into sin inverse of d2 minus d1 by twice c. So I will put this value of d2 as 700 and d1 as 3500 divided by 2 into center distance between the two pulleys. So I will get this alpha 1 value as 2.90 radians. Now I will try to get the tension ratio. So T1 upon T2 is equal to mu into alpha. So e raised to mu, so I will be putting this value of mu here 0.35 and alpha which I calculated 2.9, so this will be here. So I will get this tension ratio as 2.76. So as we know the maximum tension on the belt and the centrifugal tension acting over the belt, so we can find out the tension on the tight side, which is nothing but the difference of maximum tension and the centrifugal tension, because generally the maximum tension is equal to tight side tension plus centrifugal tension. So tight side tension will be equal to T max minus Tc, that is 3600 minus 1200, that is 2400 Newton. So using this value of T1 and using this ratio of T1 upon T2, we will get the value of T2 as 867.41 Newton. So if I use these values of T1 and T2 in the equation of power, so I will get power transmission capacity of this flat belt drive, since it is I mistake written as V. So T1 minus T2 into V, so T1 is this minus T2 is this into velocity, so I will get the power transmission capacity of this belt as 41.71 kilowatt, and this is what is the answer of this particular numerical. So finally we can specify the complete solution of this numerical, that is pulley diameters we calculated, then we calculated tensions on tight side and slack side, and the power transmission capacity of this. Okay, so after this now we will go for the next numerical. So actually the question number 9 is completely a theory bit, which is on the unit number 6, that is sliding contact bearing, and the question number 10 is on again sliding contact bearing for 18 marks. So 6 marks there is a theory bit and there is a 12 marks numerical. So let us see what is the given numerical here. So let us read this numerical first. The following data is given for a 360 degree hydrodynamic bearing. The radial load acting on the bearing is 9 kN, that is 9000 Newton. Unit bearing pressure is 900 kilopascal, that is nothing but 0.9 megapascal. Clearance ratio R by C is equal to 800. Journal speed is 1440 rpm. Viscosity of the lubricant is 30 micropascal second, and it is said that assume the total heat produced in the bearing is carried by the total oil flow, and also the L by D ratio is given as 1. So we are asked to calculate the dimensions of the bearing. That means you have to design this bearing, means to get the dimensions of this bearing you have to find out how much is the coefficient of friction between the journal and the bearing. We have to also find out how much is the power lost in the friction and the total oil flow of oil which is required to be supplied to have this hydrodynamic action in this particular bearing. And also, as we are supplying this oil continuously to this bearing, there is a flow of oil from the side, so that's how much is the side leakage, that is also you are asked to find out, and how much will be the increase in the temperature of the lubricating oil, that you have to find out. So let us see this given data for a 360 degree hydrodynamic bearing. This is the journal of this bearing, and this is the bearing. Okay, the radial load acting on this bearing is 9 kN, that is 9000 Newton. Then the unit bearing pressure means what is the pressure that will be created here between the journal and the bearing, that is 900 kilopascal. The clearance ratio, that is R by C, this ratio is 800. Journal speed is 1440 rpm. Viscosity is specified of this lubricant, that is 30 millipascal second. L by D ratio, so length and the diameter ratio of this is nothing but equal to 1, and we are finding out all these different parameters. So to get the solution of this bearing, definitely we know that the standing contact bearings or the general bearing or the hydrodynamic bearing, in this bearing the Reynolds equation plays an important role. So the performance parameters are there which can be determined by using the Reynolds equation. So with this data, they have specified us this particular table. Now this so Raimondi and Boyd have solved the Reynolds equation, and they have come with a solution in terms of certain dimensionless parameters for design of this hydrodynamic bearing. So you will find that here the L by D ratio is 1. So as we have been specified L by D ratio 1, so we have to stick to this particular data for this L by D ratio equal to 1, and we have to find out the value of Sommerfeld number, and corresponding to that Sommerfeld number we can select the different values of these dimensionless parameters. So now we will see how we can determine all these parameters. Okay, so first we will try to get the dimensions of this bearing. So as the pressure developed in the oil film is specified to us, so that pressure is given by force upon projected area. So pressure is given as 900 kilopascal, that is nothing but 0.9 megapascal, and area is equal to length and diameter, that is projected area. So definitely L by D ratio is 1, so we can put this L or D as in terms of L and D. So definitely we can write this area as a D square. So once you write this area as a D square and rearrange this particular terms of pressure, so W by P will be there. So I am putting the value of W as 9000 Newton and pressure as 0.9 megapascal. So I will be getting the diameter D, that is equal to under root of 9000 by 0.9, that is equal to 100 mm. So as diameter and length is same, so length and diameter both will be 100 mm. So now we will find next viscosity of the lubricant, that is specified to us, that is 30 micropascal second. So we will write it in terms of megapascal second, and once we get that, we will try to determine the value of Sommerfeld number. So Sommerfeld number is given by R by C bracket square into mu into Ns by P, where R by C is nothing but the radius by clearance ratio, so that is 800 given to us. Viscosity, Ns is the revolutions per second, so that is N by 60, 1440 divided by 60, that is 24 rps, and P is the pressure intensity. So if we put all these values to get the Sommerfeld number, so we will get this value of R by C, first of all 800 square, that is 30 into 10 raised to minus 9 multiplied by 24 divided by 0.9, that is equal to 0.512 is the value of Sommerfeld number. So now for this value of Sommerfeld number and L by D ratio equal to 1, we have to determine the value of dimensionless parameter. Sometimes this Sommerfeld number may be exactly available in the table, but when it is not available exactly in the table, then you have to go for the interpolation of values so that we can get the required values of the dimensionless parameters. So in this case, now whatever the value of Sommerfeld number that we have got, that is 0.512. So here you will find there is a two values, 0.264 and 0.631. In between these two there is a value of our Sommerfeld number, and we have to find out the different values of these parameters like R by C into F, Q by RC and SL, and QS by Q from this table. So corresponding to these you have to determine the values of mid values, or you can say interpolated values from this. Okay, so we will be considering only these particular two rows to find out the values of the parameters by interpolation. So let us see how we can calculate the value of coefficient of friction variable, that is R by C into F. So for that I will just write down the value of Sommerfeld number and the corresponding value of this R by C into F. So Sommerfeld number value is 0.264. I am putting it over here, and the corresponding value of R by C into F 5.79. So I am writing it here 5.79. So I will get this particular point. Similarly, the value of Sommerfeld number is 0.631 here, and corresponding value of R by C into F is 12.8 here, which you can see here, this one and this one. And now I want the value of this R by C into F, that is coefficient of friction variable, corresponding to the Sommerfeld number 0.512. That means I need the coordinates of this particular point. So I will be using here the similarity of triangles. So simply I will write the equation by using height of this triangle divided by base of this triangle. So height of this triangle is x minus 5.79. So this is x minus 5.79, and base of this triangle is 0.512 minus 0.264. So 0.512 minus 0.2. Now for the bigger triangle, this is the 8 minus 5.9. This is the height of this particular triangle, which is written over here, and the base of this triangle, that is 0.631 minus 0.264, that is written over here. So if I equate this, so from this actually I have to determine the value of x, which is corresponding to the R by C into F. So this is equal to 5.79 plus this particular term, okay, multiply by this total term as it is. So I will be getting the value of R by C into F equal to 10.527. Similarly, we will determine the value of another dimensionless parameter, that is Q by RCNSL. So I am plotting the value of Sommerfeld number on x-axis and Q by RCNSL value on y-axis. So corresponding to the 0.264, the value of this R by Q by RCNSL is 3.99. So I am marking this particular point here. Similarly, 0.631 Sommerfeld number, the corresponding value of Q by RCNSL is 3.59. okay, and I have to find out the value of this Q by RCNSL corresponding to 0.512 Sommerfeld number, that is this point. So again here I am using the similar triangle. So this is the height of this triangle, which is x minus 3.59, and the base of this triangle, that is 0.631 minus 0.512. So this term is here. Similarly, height of this triangle and the base of this triangle is written over here and here, and then again here I am trying to get the value of this x, that is corresponding to Q by RCNSL, which is given by 3.59 plus this particular term over here multiply by this numerator and denominator term as it is. So finally I am getting the value of Q by RCNSL equal to 3.719. On the similar lines, now we will determine the value of Qs by Q from this table. So I will be using these two values on y-axis and these two values on x-axis. So you can see here, corresponding to 0.264, the value of Qs by Q is 0.497. so it is here. Similarly, 0.631 corresponding value of Qs by Q is 0.28, and now we have to find out corresponding to this point. So again here I am using similarity of triangle. So this height divided by this base, so it is here height divided by this base, and height of this particular bigger triangle divided by base of this triangle. So it is here height of the triangle, bigger one, and base of the triangle. So I am getting this Qs by Q, which is equal to 0.350. okay, so now I have to make use of all these dimensionless parameters to find out the different values. So first I will try to determine the coefficient of friction and power loss in friction. So as I got the value of R by C into F is equal to 10.527, simply I have to get the value of F here. So I should replace these two terms on the right hand side. So F will be equal to 10.527 multiplied by C by R. So R by C value is 800, so C by R will be 1 by 800. So this I am getting the coefficient of friction as the first calculated value here by multiplying this particular dimensionless parameter. So F is equal to 0.0131. This is your second answer as per the numerical. Now radius of journal is nothing but diameter divided by 2. So diameter is 100. So therefore radius is equal to 50 mm. Now we have to find out the power lost in friction. So power lost in friction is nothing but 2 pi n into T. So 2 pi n is nothing but the omega and T is nothing but torque. So in this case 2 pi ns is the omega and torque is nothing but FWR. So F is the coefficient of friction, mu is the force applied, so that is frictional force multiplied by radius of the journal. So I'll be getting the torque multiplied by omega, so it is power. So if I put all these values, so 2 pi constant, ns is 24, coefficient of friction, then W and this radius, so I will be getting this power in kilowatts by dividing it by 10 raised to 6. So power in kilowatts will be, power loss in friction in kilowatts will be 0.8929. Now similarly we will have the value of Q by RCNSL, and here you have to find out the total oil flow of the lubricating oil. So I will multiply this particular dimensionless parameter, this constant, multiply by this RCNSL. So simply you have to put the value of R, C, NS and L. So you will get the value of Q as 27897.75 mm3 per second. Also QS by Q is 0.35. So I will be getting the value of QS, that is Q multiplied by 0.35. So I will be putting this value of Q here, so you get the value of QS. So that is 9774.32 mm3 per second. And finally I have to get the temperature rise, which is given by 8.3 into P into CFV, that is coefficient of flow variable divided by friction variable. Coefficient of friction variable divided by flow variable. So I got the value of this coefficient of friction variable as 10.527 and flow variable as 3.719, and this is pressure 0.9. So I will be getting this temperature rise, that is equal to 21.14 degrees Celsius. So if we make a total list of all the different solutions which are obtained here, so starting with the dimensions of the bearing, the coefficient of friction, power loss in friction, Q, QS and temperature rise. So this way you can summarize the complete solution. So this is what is the